Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Unleash the Power of Adobe Acrobat Across Your Organization. Thank you for joining. Before we get started, I would like to make a few announcements. Today's program is 50 minutes in length and it is being recorded. You are on mute for the duration of the session. The On24 room you are in allows you to adjust and resize the widgets that appear on your screen, so feel free to move them around and get the most out of your desktop space. We encourage you to enter questions and comments in the Q&A widget at any time during the presentation. We will answer your questions throughout today's presentation, and we will address as many questions as time allows. If you experience any technical difficulties during the event, please try refreshing your browser to reset your connection. If that doesn't work, enter your technical issue into the Q&A widget, and we'll be more than happy to help resolve any difficulties you may be experiencing. Finally, you will receive an email where you can access the on-demand recording and download the presentation slides, and those will be available by the end of the week. And now I'd like to introduce your first speaker for today, Tim Plummer, Senior Manager, DME Strategy with Adobe. Tim, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Phil, and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining Unleash the Power of Adobe Acrobat Across Your Organization. My name is Tim Plummer, and I lead the digital strategy group helping to combine Adobe solutions and software to your business needs so that we can help your business become more digitally efficient. I'm joined by my good friend, Alex Gay, and Alex leads the product marketing group for Document Cloud business customers here at Adobe. He works with customers to help them navigate through the evolving future of work and how digital document transformation can help them move from business continuity to acceleration. Our topics and agenda for today are, first, we're going to start by talking about how we integrate with tools that you're likely using, specifically Microsoft Office. We also want to talk about and show you some ways that you can use document security and compliance to drive your needs with the documents that you're using. And then finally, we'll take a look at the power of e-signatures and how they can accelerate your business.
Really excited to be here to touch on these, Tim. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited for where the conversation is going to go.
Yeah, it's exciting. And, let's dig right in. The first question that I've got for you is, Alex, as we know, we've gone through a really rapid transition over the past 2.5 years. What are some of the things that you're hearing from customers about how they're adapting to it?
Yeah, so I think as everyone has experienced the last couple of years, has been a period of rapid change, and businesses had to react really quickly to see how they could keep their business moving forward as we moved into digital-only engagements and employees working from anywhere. And what we've really seen is that obviously these changes are permanent. I think the future of work is now going to be something that businesses have changed to adapt to, and it's actually for the positive. So when we think about some of those key changes that are going to be long-standing, we know that the workforce is going to be hybrid. We know that engagements are going to be digital first. And so organizations need to optimize a lot of the technology that they implemented in order to continue to support that future of work. Digital document workflows exist across the organization. Like every single function has to work with digital documents in some way. And again, as people were looking to make this transition to a hybrid work environment, organizations invested significantly in getting the tools and technology to help employees do their job from anywhere. But one consequence of that was that we found that organizations really invested significantly in building all of this infrastructure, but often it was done in a silo, and it created a lot of technical debt for organizations where they looked at fixing particular problems, such as how do I transact digitally with a customer, versus thinking about in the long term, how do I optimize the experience for this future that we'll see on both customers and employees. So now what we're seeing customers spend a lot of time around is thinking about that experience first and foremost, and how can they optimize it. If I'm thinking about a hybrid work environment where my employees need access to the tools to get their job done, how do I make sure that that's done in such a way where they can access it across devices within the applications that they're using from anywhere? When I think about my customers, how do I make that digital experience that they have as good as the in-person experience that they had before, if not better? So I think we've really seen that shift happen from reaction to now a more thoughtful measure on how can we take the infrastructure that we've pulled into place, make it work better together in order to fit this future of what work is going to be.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to make some of these changes. And you touched on employee experience in there. How are you thinking about that being supported by digital documents?
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, Every function has to deal with digital documents across the organization. 40% of all documents that come through Outlook are PDFs as well. So these are a critical part of what employees have to do. But one of the challenges when you move remote is that these things exist everywhere. So it's critical that employers start to think about, how do I optimize for my employees' work in this hybrid environment? What you want to try and avoid as much as possible is people having to work within one system and then exit that to complete some of the work that they have to do somewhere else. We really saw in a piece of research that we did called Future Time that employees reported spending about a third of their time on unimportant tasks. That's really challenging because that's taking them away from their core function, or also adding friction to just keeping their work-life balance. So we wanted to, as much as possible, focus on how can we put the right tools in the right place. That means that if you're working in Microsoft and you open up a PDF in OneDrive and you want to take an action on that, you can take those actions, make those edits on the PDF document, and you don't have to leave OneDrive to do that. Share it back in, no problem. You haven't changed context. If you're collaborating real time with your team in Microsoft Teams and you want to do that on a PDF document, you shouldn't have to open up Acrobat to go and do that. That should open up natively within Teams so you can collaborate real time on that document and accelerate the work that you're having to do. So it's these kind of deep integrations that we're looking at supporting so that people don't have to do that context switching, that people can have access to those tools where they need them and save the time that they would on going back and forth. The other piece that we've really seen some acceleration around is that the repeated manual workflows that people have to do, especially around documents, wherever possible, if you can automate a document workflow to remove someone having to do some of the more tedious manual repetitive tasks, that again is going to help employees accelerate and be more productive. So we looked at how we could use Power Automate connectors to drive some of that automation in a low-code way so that employees would feel empowered to just automate some of those things themselves or at scale within an organization. And then we looked at more bulk workflow automation that we could support IT admins with to, again, pull some of those repetitive tasks away from employees. Like, you should never be in a situation where you have to bring in staff to search through contracts to look for payment terms if you need to change the way that your contracts are structured. You should be able to leverage automation to identify across the thousands of contracts that you have where the contracts are that need changed. And that's the kind of technology that we're bringing to customers to help them automate both at the individual level and automate at scale across the organization.
Interesting. There's a lot of good stuff there. Why don't we take a look at some of the stuff in action, shall we?
That'd be great. Let's show it.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the integrations that we just discussed in action in Acrobat. One of the first things that I really like about Document Cloud is that it offers its own storage, and I can get to my files and share them with myself or others using the cloud. But our corporate standard is actually to use SharePoint and OneDrive. OneDrive for work in progress, SharePoint for storing final files and the components thereof. I can connect Acrobat directly to those cloud storage options as well as using the Document Cloud, or even instead of if I want to. To do so is very easy. All I need to do is click on Add File Storage. I can add file storage from Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, or even SharePoint. And it's a simple matter of clicking and then adding your credentials. So I'm ready to go ahead and get connected, but I'm not going to actually bother with this because I've already done it. You just put your email here in and it will connect directly to your OneDrive storage locations. The same is actually true of SharePoint. I've connected to a SharePoint site, but really all it requires is your authenticatable URL to your SharePoint site. It's very convenient because now I can start to work with files wherever they are using Acrobat. I don't have to go and find files and move them and put them on the desktop and hide them in different places. So that's good. It's really handy. But that's just a part of the story. Let's talk about actually creating some PDF files using these integrations as well. So here I have a document in Word. It's a document that I want to share as a PDF for all the reasons that I might want to share a PDF. Looks, it feels exactly the same. It's nice and secure. I don't need a particular version of Word, etc. To convert this into a PDF file, all I need to do is use Adobe Document Cloud Convert to Adobe PDF button. It's built right here on the ribbon. When I click it, it'll give me the option of renaming the file. And I'm actually going to go ahead and rename this to something slightly different. I'll call it Binder 1. I can add password protection here, and I'll talk about that in a few moments, but I'm not going to do it for the purpose of this part of the conversation. All I really want to do is quickly convert a PDF. Okay, once it's done, or first it uploads the file and then converts it to a PDF in the cloud, and it will return that PDF file that we created. And then I can either download it or just save it directly to OneDrive because I've connected Acrobat to OneDrive. Now let's go ahead and take a deeper look. And in this case, I'm going to switch away from Word over to PowerPoint. For all intents and purposes, they're the same, but I want to show you some deeper configuration that you can do when you're creating a PDF. So here I have a PowerPoint, and again, I have the document cloud button right here, and I'll convert it. But what I actually want to do is come over here to the ribbon and click to open it. And what this will give me is the options that I have to go beyond just simply creating a PDF. So yes, I can create it, but I can also set preferences that will determine how the PDF is going to be created, how big it is and things like that. But what I'm really interested in is taking another step beyond just creating it. I don't want to just have a PDF and then hand it around. I want to use it for something. So, for example, I could create and share it, just as simple. It'll create the PDF and then give me the ability to share it directly from Document Cloud. Easy. I can also create and share for review. If I want to have people use the commenting capabilities in Acrobat to mark the document up, which they can do even if they don't own Acrobat or even Reader. And again, all right directly from this button, so I don't have to go into and out of different applications. Now, this last one here is my favorite. Create and run PDF action, or run Acrobat action, I should say. Actions are basically a series of pre-built scripts, and you can create them yourself right in Acrobat. So you can create a PDF and, for example, optimize for web and mobile. What that will do is it first creates the PDF, but then it applies compression to make the file much smaller for something in file size, so it's much more appropriate for a mobile device or even sharing via cell data. Now, it's going to look and work the same. It's just really compact. And I like that because now what I'm starting to do is really save some time. Instead of creating the PDF and then moving it to Acrobat and taking some further steps with it, I'm going to create the PDF file right here in PowerPoint. And my resulting PDF is not just a PDF, but it's a PDF that's ready to go for me. I use this pretty much daily. But my favorite integration, beyond just creating and doing some things with the PDF, is the integration that we now have with Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to go over here, and this is a team that I've set up for the purpose of sharing some files with a customer. And there's a variety of different file types in here. In Teams, I basically have Acrobat built in, and I'm going to use the power of Acrobat together with Teams to complete this process. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, you can see that there is the Acrobat icon. And if it's not showing up for you after you've installed Acrobat, all you need to do is click on the Find an App option, and then you might need to even just start typing the word Acrobat, and then it should show up, and then you can click and add it. I've already done it, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on the Acrobat button inside Teams, and you can see now that I have a variety of tools. The one I'm specifically interested in is Combine Files. But if you click on All Tools, you can see that I can do a lot of stuff right here in Teams while I'm working with a document. And in this case, what I really like is that while I'm actually working with someone in Teams and I want to put a set of files and materials together, I can go ahead and do it on the fly and share it with them in Teams. In this case, it's going to save right back into Teams. So they're invited to the team. As I'm talking to them, that PDF will appear, and then I can just point them to it. It's very handy. Let's take a look at how this works. So I'm going to scroll back down. I'm looking for the Combine Files capability. And then I'm looking to combine files once I select it. I'm looking for the team that I'm working in. We'll navigate to it. So what I want is this form, this document. I want this PNG image file, which is an image of a mask, and then this includer instructions document as well. And these are the files that I want to combine. So I'll click Continue, and Acrobat inside Teams is now going to pull these files up. It's going to draw a preview, and it's going to allow me to take a step further than just slamming some files together. And this is what I really love about this integration. So you can see that it's actually starting to build in the previews here. So I can see the files that I'm going to work with. Now that I see the previews, I'm not quite satisfied because, like I said, I don't just want a stack of files. I want to combine this stuff together into an overall package. And to do so, what I'm going to do is open the preview of this file so I can see all the pages that I'm about to combine. What I want to do is actually move page 1 of the PowerPoint to become the first page of the whole document, sort of like an introductory page. Then the mask image file that I mentioned, I actually want it to live here between this content and the rest of the PowerPoint content. And then everything else can stay the same. So all I need to do now is simply click Combine. Acrobat behind the scenes, through Teams, is combining those documents together and will add that file to my Teams file list. I can even simply click to open the file in the integrated Acrobat right here inside Teams. And I've got the Acrobat interface here, so I can go ahead and check to make sure that everything's in the right place. But if I want to take it a step further for some reason, I can also click Edit and add some editing features or take advantage of some editing features and go right ahead and edit the file or open it directly from Acrobat using the integration to OneDrive. So it'll hand it over and I'm ready to go. The thing that I really like is that I don't generally just want to make a PDF and then open it somewhere. What I want to do is a third thing somewhere else. And the work that I can do right here in real time. So if I've got a customer on the line and I'm ready to close the deal with that customer, all I need to do now is, I don't have to do anything. It's already in Teams. The customer's in Teams. That's the kind of integration that makes this doing business together with my customer via these tools incredibly efficient. So now when I go back to Teams, we'll go back into the sales material. You can see that I've got a new file here. It's the form. It's the set of tools that are combined. And it's the file that, again, I can share with somebody, or I can just leave it here because if they have access to Teams, they already have access to it. So for these reasons, the integration between Microsoft and Acrobat are a really important business enabler. They're very important productivity tools. It allows me to get a lot of work done quickly on the fly, and in this case, potentially while I'm online talking to a customer about the advantage they have of doing business with us. And I can strike while the iron's hot, if you will. So there you have it. And that's just a taste of the integrations that we have. There's a lot more that I could show you, but I want to actually show you a lot of other stuff. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some more things Acrobat can do.
Tim, that was great. Thanks for walking through that. It's super interesting, the savings that employees have had from a timing standpoint just by leveraging those integrations. We found that employees were saving an average of 43 hours a year just on not having to context switch between Acrobat and Microsoft. So thanks for pointing some of those out. We've had some questions come in, which I thought we could jump into to see if there's some other areas that we can flesh out. First question that we had was, are these integrations available for other platforms, for example, Google? We are looking at integrations across multiple different aspects of the ecosystem. So for example, in Salesforce, we've integrated a document builder so that you can automatically generate a contract. And then we've integrated signature capabilities in there so you can send them off as required. We've integrated similar signing capabilities within applications like Workday and even within ServiceNow. For Google in particular, we do have a Chrome extension that can be leveraged. So if you open up a document in Chrome, you can take edits from directly within that extension, and you'll start to see a lot more of these deep native-like integrations coming through the course of the next year.
Yeah, I'm seeing a question here, and I've seen this one before. Is what version of Office do I need? And, first off, we'll integrate with even older versions of Office, but much of the integration work that we've done has been around Office 365 because it's cloud-based, and so there are different ways that we can connect to it. So the best experience is going to come with using Office 365 and Acrobat combined.
Another question that's along a similar vein is there's a couple of ways to create a PDF from Office. Which way is the best? When you have the integration with Acrobat, you start to see a new bar that appears within the applications. That has a lot of the key functionality that you need to be able to take the PDF actions that you need to have. So definitely that's the fastest way for you to be able to get your work done by leveraging that integration that exists already.
Yeah, excellent, because it's so time-saving. It's right there for you. So great. So another question that we're seeing is, and I see this question not infrequently, we're all using Office anyway. Why create a PDF? Why not just use Word documents and PowerPoint and such? And the simple answer to that is that those are great authoring environments, and they do have an ability to be used for printing and for presenting. But oftentimes, what you want to do is pack up a set of documents that are absolutely reliable. They're pixel perfect from what you saw to what they saw, but maybe they don't have the same version of Office. Maybe it's a set of documents that come from Excel and PowerPoint and Word together. So you can combine those into a single document and then add some things to make it a more comprehensive package. So PDF is important because what you deliver, you can depend on being exactly what the end user gets and sees and works with. Whereas some of the authoring documents can be changed. They may be font dependent or even dependent on the particular version of the application that you're using. So PDF is great for making sure that you know what you package up and deliver is what they're going to get and use.
Yeah, I think that's great. That notion of being able to combine content from multiple sources into one package, exactly as you want it to be, I think is the use case that we see come up an awful lot.
So one of the key priorities I know that we've both seen for IT is around maintaining security in this remote environment that we're working. How is Acrobat supporting that kind of security?
Yeah, like it is definitely front of mind for most organizations. As you move into a hybrid environment, you're looking at security across everything from the environment to the applications that you're using. And for Acrobat, like we take security really seriously. It's a critical part of our DNA as far as a platform and as far as even the file format that we have. As Tim touched on before, PDF is really valuable because you can lock that content. But it also requires the user to be able to put in certain steps if they really want to make that password protected or uneditable by other people. And as an organization, there's certain steps that you can take to make that even easier. You can look at applying standard security settings. So every time a document is created by an end user, they're prompted to secure it, whether they want to add a password or not, or lock the content. For individuals, it means that they can have the peace of mind that any content that they're putting out into the world is not editable and can't be misconstrued. It's always going to be authentic. We actually see this happen a lot. We work with a lot of customers where we show them the PDFs that they have on their website. And these are PDFs that are really high value. These are annual reports. These are financial statements. And when they're distributed as a PDF, often what they fail to do is secure that content. So a bad actor can take that content, download it, make edits, and then pass that off as authentic. And that could be really troubling for an employer's brand, but also it's just a negative experience overall. So just that small step of securing the content is a really important step that IT admins can take to ensure that all of that content that goes public is exactly as you want it to be and can't be misconstrued. Another thing that we've started to implement is the ability to leverage Microsoft information protection within the document. So again, as we look at how we can take those capabilities that people are used to within Microsoft and bring that into the Acrobat environment, that's a really key additional step that we've started to include. And I think the final thing I'll touch on is PDFs are a vehicle often for malware into organizations, and we were really conscious of that. So we've introduced tools like sandboxing, where an admin can ensure that the organization isn't impacted at a broader level if malicious content makes it in a PDF format. So some of these tools are tools that we try and put in place to give IT admins the confidence that their platforms are secure, that their ecosystem is secure, and then for end users to make sure that their content is secure and exactly as they want it to be.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that you might need to secure a PDF file. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at how Acrobat allows you to do that? Because it's actually pretty easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the ways that Acrobat can help to enforce standards around creating and distributing PDF files, especially when they represent my company. And specifically, I want to provide compliance to make sure that when I produce and distribute a PDF, that it meets various state, local, and federal laws, specifically those around accessibility. And this document is a perfect example of one that seems like it's okay, but it's actually not. It's not a great experience at all, and frankly, it would run afoul very quickly of accessibility laws, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act here in the United States. The reason for that is because, although it looks like text, it isn't actually. In fact, if I try to select it with this arrow tool, you'll see that it just gives me a blue box, and then it just kind of seems to say that this is an image. I mean, that's what the blue box is saying. I'm selecting an image. And that's because that's exactly what it is. I took a series of image files off a scanner, ran them through combined files, and now I have a PDF. But that PDF, for starters, isn't even searchable. So for example, if I select find, type in the word action, it's not going to find any results. Why? Because although it looks like the word actions, it's not. It's not text, it's just an image. To fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Acrobat's Scan and OCR toolset to convert this from a picture of text to actual text. I'll select the tool. I'll choose Recognize Text in this file. And there are a variety of settings that I could experiment with, but what I found is that out of the box, it does such a good job that I rarely touch them. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Recognize Text. And there you go. Now, it doesn't look like much has happened, and that's on purpose, because when Acrobat does this work, it does it in such a way that the document is still going to look like what you put on the scanner in the first place. So it doesn't mess it up, with the formatting and the fonts and all that stuff. It looks the same. But now if I take the same arrow tool, I can select the text, which is great because now I can export it, I can copy and paste it. It's a much more usable document in this digital world. More importantly, though, when I select Edit and then Find, and I look for the word Action and I click Next, it finds it, and it finds it in the right location. So now this document is a much better experience for everybody. If I'd left it as a scan, it just wouldn't have been. But you know what? I'm not quite done because the text in this document is unstructured. And that affects something called accessibility. Accessibility means the ability for people who may not be able to see the document to be able to observe the document using a screen reader. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the OCR. And what we're going to do is jump to the accessibility tools and use those as a way to structure the text in the document, making it even that much more usable. So to do that, I'm going to choose the auto tag document capability. What this is going to do is it's going to look through the document using Adobe's AI named Sensei to see if it can understand what the document should be, the reading order, are there columns, where are the paragraphs, and things like that. And when I do that, now I can see, if I try to select the text, it even understands that this is a column. So it's not going to attempt to read across, which would create gibberish. It's actually going to read the document in the correct order. So I've taken a major step towards making this document accessible to those who can't see it and making it a better experience because the screen reading devices depend on that text and the tag. But what I want to do now is consider the images in the document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that if there are images in the file, that they have something called alt text, which basically it can describe the image so that someone who can't see the document can understand the information trying to be conveyed by those images. For that, I'm going to use the Set Alternate Text tool. We'll go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and just use this arrow to skip ahead to this object here. This is not an image I need to describe. It's just a decorative figure. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click Decorative Figure. So there will be no alternate text and any screen reader will skip it. I'm going to jump all the way to the end of this document though too, because although there are other decorative figures, I want to get to the end. There is a congressional seal. And I do want to be described in this document. So I'm going to go ahead and type congressional seal and then select Save and Close. What I've just done with this document is I've made it a lot more accessible and therefore available to a much broader audience. So even though I'm much more compliant than I was before, I've also created a document that's just a better experience for my potential intended audience, not just those people who might be able to see it. Accessibility is a big topic, and I don't have time to get into each and every capability here, so I'd like to encourage that you take a look at our tutorials online for it, but there are two more tools that I just want to point to because they're very helpful in that endeavor. The first one is the Accessibility Check tool. In fact, you can see a mini check that was performed when you ran the auto tag, and it's over here on the left. There's some information in here that you can look at, but you might also want to share the information. And so for that, I want to point out the Accessibility Report tool, which will take the information, put it into an HTML file that you can then share with the people who are perhaps setting governance rules for your organization around document use, or maybe share it with IT and enablement so that they can train people how to make sure that when they create a PDF file, that it is meeting all of the experience goals that you have by creating these files in the first place. So once I have this kind of file, it seems like I'm all ready to go, but I might not be done. In fact, I'm actually going to switch to a different file to take a look at what I want to do here. This is a document that came directly out of Microsoft Word. So the good news is that it's accessible and it's tagged and all that stuff because that came from Microsoft Word. I want to use PDF to distribute it because I don't want it to be changed. And I need it to look exactly as the same as the file and the information that I produced in the first place. In fact, there might be some liability around having someone use this information but change it or misinterpret it for recruiting instructions. So whenever I have a file that I need to make sure isn't changed, what I want to use is the security capabilities in Acrobat. And not everybody realizes that if I have Adobe Acrobat, I can edit the PDF with the Edit PDF tool. I want to prevent this. So if I want, I can change something here. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and protect the PDF file. And I want to protect the PDF file simply by using a password. So I'll go over here and I'll click Protect, and then I'll choose Using Password. And I don't want to keep people from viewing it, though I could do that. What I really want to do is I want to prevent people from editing the document. And all I need to do is choose that, and I'll go ahead and type in a password. Adobe will help make sure that it's a good solid password. You can see that it's giving me some advice there. And a side story, don't forget your password, because if you lose the password, nobody, including Adobe, can help you get back into the file. So just fair warning there. These passwords are serious. So I'll go ahead and apply the password, and it'll go ahead and do its thing. It's applying the password protection, saving the file. And there you can see. Now, it doesn't look like much has happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close the file, and I'll reopen it. So you just imagine I'm someone else. The first thing to note is that it says secured right here at the top of the file name, meaning that this file is now secured. And when I come over here to edit PDF and attempt, it asks me to type in the password. And if I have the password, I can go ahead and type it in, but I'm going to pretend I don't. So I can't edit the document. I'll just cancel. It reminds me that the document's secured and that I can't edit it. And that's okay. What I've done with this document is I've created a standardized document because it's all text and available. It's a document that's accessible, but it's a document that is also protected so that I know for sure nobody has changed the content of a contract or recruiting rules or whatever it is that I'm trying to share with someone. These tools are excellent that allow you to create a way for you to manage your distribution of documents internally and externally that will allow you to get the most from them, but rest assured that they're saying exactly what you need them to say and what you intended them to say.
Thanks, Tim. I think the simplicity of trying to just make sure those documents can be secured, or the ability to get to those settings easy, I think really shone through. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're certainly welcome. We've got some questions here about this topic, so let's go ahead and dig into those a little bit. The first one, is there a service to undo password protection if I forget the password I've created? And the simple answer is no. These password protections are very serious, and if we can make them something that can be undone, then people could figure out other ways to undo them. So I've actually had customers call and ask, can you undo a password protected PDF? And the answer is we can't. So if you use a password, just make sure to remember it.
Yeah, I think actually at an organization level, there are certainly things that you can do on that front too. So as far as consistency, in case that does happen, but definitely, when you think about the documents that are being created, that strength of password is key. We did see another question about, is there any reason why I shouldn't protect the document? Well, ultimately, PDFs are common in so many workflows. I think you as an end user can really understand how critical is it for the information within this document to be protected or not. There are certainly use cases as you're reviewing a document, sending it out to other people, that you might want to leave that unprotected during that review phase, so you can continue to make edits, or if other stakeholders do want to make edits to the document, they can. But when you know that that's going to be leaving your organization or leaving you as a team, and you want to make sure it stays as it is, it stays locked, that's when you really want to make sure that that's protected in the right way.
Yeah, that's a very good point. One final question on this topic. I shared a protected PDF, but after opening it, the user was able to edit it in Acrobat. Why did that happen? And it's important to remember, and I showed during the demo, there's kind of two layers of password protection. One lets you into the document at all. But unless you add the second layer, which is to protect the document from being edited by Acrobat, then once someone's in, they could edit it. So you want to think about security. What is the purpose of it? Are you trying to keep the information secret, but then it doesn't matter when they have it open? Or are you trying to keep the information from being changed, in which case you can protect it and maybe make it available to anyone? Or both. Maybe it's very sensitive information and you want to make sure that it is protected. Acrobat allows you to do both to the same PDF file. So it's a very comprehensive security solution. So let's move to our last topic for today's discussion. Obviously, the shift from in-person to digital created this sort of wave of need for electronic signatures. How has that space changed?
Yeah, Tim, as you mentioned, signature adoption just went through the roof as people look to keep business moving customer engagements into from paper signatures to electronic signatures was key. And so we found this rapid adoption of signatures happening across the board. And what we've seen, as I mentioned at the start, is now organizations are starting to look more at the experience behind the signature and the experience for both the customer and how that interaction with the signature happens as part of what workflow, how do you optimize for the digital space, but also for the employees. If you think about agreements as being probably the one area where there's the most signatures happening, employees are largely executing those agreements from a CRM like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics. And so we've looked at how we can help support both of those applications with the integrated signing capabilities, as well as more functionality. Like within Salesforce, we built this new document builder, which is an integration. So within Salesforce, you can automatically create an agreement and send it for signature just at the push of a button from SFDC. So signatures have kind of evolved from just the signing itself to more of the workflow, how the document is created, and then how it's received by the organization and leveraged afterwards.
But Alex, one of the things that I've heard is that, and I've seen this, signatures aren't just for agreements. What are some other ways that they're being used and some other power that might be available through Acrobat?
No, that's a great point, Tim. Signatures appear everywhere, or the needs to get approvals at minimum occur for almost every employee. So whether it is, I'm working on a document that needs to go to my boss, and I've got multiple stakeholders involved, getting everyone to approve the content that's in there before it goes up. Normally, I'm having to rely on email for that. Or if I think about just a simple NDA, I don't need a full electronic signature solution to do that. What I need is something quick and simple that still has an audit trail and it's still compliant, so I can go back and check that later. And we really saw that as a new opportunity to enhance employee efficiency across the board, thinking about how we could bring basic signing capabilities into the tools that people are using in those contexts. And that's why we brought more of the sign capabilities into Acrobat. So now if I am working on a document that is going to get circulated, I can send that for approval across all of the team members that I have, and that's all done digitally instead of me having to wait for email responses. I can even do that within Teams if we want to do it from a live scenario. For an NDA, again, I'm building the NDA in Acrobat anyway from a PDF standpoint, and then I can build in that sign-in capability within the document itself to just streamline all of those processes. So you're absolutely right. Like employees can absolutely benefit from the ability to electronically sign something instead of having to do it through a paper-based mechanism or try and get other ways of getting people's approvals in place. And that's why we brought more of that sign value into Acrobat, and it's super exciting right now.
It is. And what I really like is that all of this stuff is built into your copy of Adobe Acrobat, and it's pretty easy to use. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at it in action? Okay, the final thing that I want to show you is how you can use Acrobat as sort of a tool to manage your documents. In this case, the document that I want to manage is a contract or maybe an internal employee agreement. And I need to request a signature that I can get approval or acceptance on the terms of the document. Acrobat has a set of tools built into it that allow you to request an e-signature from someone, and all that someone needs to do this is an email address and a browser. That can even be on a mobile device because our tools work there as well. So this document was already converted from Word, so it's almost ready to go. In fact, technically it is all ready to go. I mean, I could send it out as a fax or print it out, but really what I want to do, if I scroll down to the end of the document here, is I want to set a place for someone to apply an e-signature and then the date so I can know the date and time of the signature. This is as easy as, with the document open, I can start with fill and sign, and there's a set of tools here. I'm going to choose, I'm going to actually close this because if you look at the bottom, you can see that there's a new little capability down here called Request e-signatures. And that's a quicker way to get to that. It's the same basic process. Click it, but it's right handy. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. It's actually invoking Adobe's Sign service, which is an additional service to Acrobat built right in. I want to send it to a particular customer by email. I can edit the text of the email, so I don't want them to review it. I just want them to sign the document. We've already gone through enough rounds of review. I just want to get the signature. The final thing that I want to do is to prepare the document, and I want to specify where the person should sign. I don't want the executive on the golf course to wonder where they're supposed to put that signature. I want them to sign it, and we can be done. So I'm going to go ahead and click Specify Where to Sign. Acrobat is now uploading this into the built-in sign service, and once it's done, it'll give me a set of tools specific to the e-signature process. The first of these tools that I want to use is actually to specify where to sign. So if I scroll down to the end of the document where I have the main signature and the date available, what I want to do is add a signature field to get started. So I'm just going to click and drag. Maybe I'll make it just a little larger so it's easier to see. Then I also want to add a date field. So I'm going to go ahead and use the signature or the signer info fields and grab date. We'll line that up. And that's really all I have to do. Now, before I send this off, though, I do want to point out that there are a variety of other field types. So, for example, if I want just a text input field so people could add something about the contract that they're signing, I could do that. So someone could type information about themselves or perhaps an address or something like that. In fact, if you're at all familiar with Acrobat's form capability, many of these form field elements are actually replicated here so that you can build them into your document as you're setting it up and getting ready to send it out. It's a pretty handy way to make this document something more than something that someone would print. Once you have something like this set up, you can also then create a template from this so that you can reuse it over and over again. If you send a similar contract to a lot of different people, it's a great tool. Now that this is done, I've set the email address in place. I'm going to click Send. Acrobat is sending the document. It actually went out as an email to that email address. And there's some information here about the signing process that's good to know. But I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead and pretend I'm the person, the big executive. And now in my inbox, which is empty right now, but if I refresh, oh, there we go. I've got an email from the service. If I select the email, it will tell you, please sign this document. And I can click on Review and Sign with either the click of a mouse or the tap of a button if I'm using a mobile device. Click Continue here. I can click Start. It'll take me right to the place where I need to click Sign. Notice when I put the date field in, it automatically grabbed a date from my computer. So really all I need to do is click and sign. I'll draw my signature. But because my signature is a little hard to read, I'll also put my name in there. Click Apply, Agreed, and then click OK. Last but not least, now that I've applied the signature to this document, but I haven't actually signed the document. I've done all the work, but to finally sign it, there's that one last moment where I just click Sign. What's interesting about this is that if I go back to Teams and notice I get a notification from Teams. So I'm going to go back over there. What Teams notified me is that the document has been signed and I can download a copy of it. It knows this because of our integrations. So now I can download an audit report, find out what time they signed it, when they signed it, etc. If there are other form fields in the document, I can actually gather that information as well. So not only can I sign a document or send a document out to get a signature literally in moments, not only can I do that within Sign if I want to do it that way, but I can manage the entire process in Adobe Teams so that I can build this into an overall meeting with a customer, go from sharing documents, as I've shown before, to coming to agreements verbally, to coming to agreements in a document that is signed with a legally binding e-signature. The integration with Microsoft Teams makes it a nice, compact way to complete this process. The e-signature makes it as simple as you can possibly imagine to get the signature, and the experience on the end user who is signing it is great because all they have to do is literally tap a couple of buttons and then draw their signature and they're good to go. These are the kinds of things that Acrobat allows me to do with documents beyond just create PDFs that make it so that I can represent my company very well with my customers and save myself a lot of time and productivity with the integrations that we've seen before.
Thanks, Tim. I love that we've brought this capability in there, mostly because I really feel like it democratizes some of that signing capabilities to different departments that didn't have access to it, different use cases, and organizations that just need some of that basic signing capability. So thanks for walking us through that. Just to take some of the questions that we've seen, what does a signer need to sign a document? Reader, Acrobat, something else? Well, the actual signer, we want to put no friction on that experience. You shouldn't have to worry about what the person has when you're sending them something for signature. So they don't need to have anything in order to be able to sign that document. So you can have the peace of mind that it can go out to any customer that you have, and they'll be able to sign that agreement for you.
Yeah, it's very, very easy. Sign something on the golf course or, at a kid's party or something like that. Another question that I see a lot is if I sign a document, can someone change the content of the file afterwards, then, sort of invalidating the signature? And the answer is no. What we do is once the signature is applied, we wrap the document using the security, the built-in security, so that the document is something that you can depend on being what you sign, not something that someone changes.
Yeah, that's really key. And it's kind of connected to this next question around, are these signatures legal and binding? All of the signatures that we offer, whether it's in Acrobat or our standalone sign solution, are legal signatures, and they have an audit trail within there. So you can have the confidence that if you're leveraging that signature workflow within any of our tools, that it's going to have the right level of compliance to give you the peace of mind you need.
Yeah, exactly. It's a legal thing. This isn't just, these aren't just pictures of signatures, which is great. Another good question is, can I track the progress of a signature without relying on Teams? Because I showed that you can do that through Teams. And the answer is absolutely. As a part of what you get with the package, there's a portal that you can go in and look at your signatures in progress, where they are, and all of that stuff without having to use Teams. So Teams makes it very convenient, but it's definitely possible without it.
Can you have multiple signers on a given document? And the answer is yes. The use case around being able to get approvals from all of the stakeholders on a document that I need to send up somewhere else requires multiple people to sign it. So yes, you can absolutely have multiple signers on the document and send it out and get all the approvals that you need.
Yeah, that's real world, right? Most agreements are between two different people, or many different people, as it was. So great. All right. Well, we've come to the end of our session today, and that was a lot of information. We talked about the integrations with Microsoft and how they'll make your work more efficient, the way that document security and compliance can make your business more trustworthy and easier to share with others. And then at the end, we talked about the power of e-signatures and how documents aren't just a digital representation of paper, but they're a business process, and how Acrobat can help you with those things. If you didn't get your question answered, I'd encourage you to click the Learn More widget there, and someone from Adobe will reach out to find out what you need and how we can help you. In the meantime, we have some helpful resources here for you. If you're interested in purchasing, the top URL will take you right to the place where you can do that. And the bottom URL, if you'd like to learn more about how Adobe might be able to help your business specifically, go ahead and select that, and someone from Adobe will reach out to you to have that conversation. With that, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and your attention today. I'd also like to thank my good friend and colleague, Alex Gay, for the conversation.
Thank you for having me, Tim. This was a lot of fun.
It really was. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Alex, and thank you to our audience for joining us today. As we disconnect, a pop-up window will appear on your slide area. Please help us improve our webinars and complete the short survey. And as a final reminder for those interested in the recording, watch for our email where you can access the on-demand recording and download the presentation slides. That concludes our program. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great remainder of your day.